Thank you, Mark. So delighted as always to be with this family. Um, so I have been sitting with a poem that I thought about in relation to this week's Torah portion. It's a little leap, but I'm going to walk you through it. The poem is by Joy Sullivan, and I will share my screen, and Harry will also put the poem into the chat if you want to read along, but you're also just welcome to to just to receive it in words. It's called Tomatoes. I waited so long for love, and suddenly here it is, standing in the garden, hands full of heirlooms hot from the sun. Soon we'll make a supper of them, salted slabs between slices of bread. Your beard silvers, my hips ripen. The mail piles up. Phone calls go unanswered. Forgive us. Our mouths are full of tomatoes. We are so busy being small and hungry and alive. I love this poem, and it feels so much like summer to me, like a type of summer that I want to remember is happening right now. Um, Especially kind of her pointing to that the fact that she's waited so long for love. And then this is what love looks like and feels like: arms full of tomatoes, the taste of them in the mouth, this kind of sense pleasure that you can get where it almost feels to me like there's like a trap door out of time, the kind of time that we often live in, that is rushed and harried and striving and outer focus and running, like running from here to there. And that type of time and life comes up here at the end when she says the mail piles up and the phone calls are unanswered. Like, that's the regular life that's we're all kind of in the middle of all the time. And then there are these moments that we're able to cultivate where we just be in life. We savor the the rest and the riches of life, and that's almost the point. We all need to run around and answer phone calls and do get things done, but there's such an important counterbalance to that, which is that savoring and that rest, which we have every single week as part of the hustle of the week and the rest of Shabbat. So it's a dynamic that we know really well. And particularly in this week's parsha, what it's a double parsha, double portion of what we're reading, and it's the very end of the book of Bamidbar, of Numbers. And what happens is there's several different points in the story where there are these moments of rest or places of rest, a city of refuge for people that are committed or accused of committing manslaughter, accidentally killing someone. They have this place of refuge where they can be kept safe. There's another point in the parsha where some of the tribes decide that they actually don't want to. They're on the edge of the land of, on this promised land, and they decide, actually, we want to stop and raise our family and take the territory here, outside the bounds of this land. And it's just this moment where they say to Moshe, and like it's ultimately approved under certain circumstances, that they don't want to keep walking and they don't want to keep marching. They want that place to be their place of refuge, of settling. And then perhaps the thing that stood out the most to me was this very long, and I included it here just in case you want to take a look for yourself, enumeration of all the places from starting from slavery in Egypt to where they are now, of where the Israelites have marched to and where they settled, where they camped. And so it's just one name after another for, I think, here close to 48, 47.
Yep, you've done, but there's
Around 47 stops on this journey. And each one has its own moment of they went here and then they camped, and they went here and then they camped. And in charting that journey, I was really just struck by those moments of pause, of camping, of rest in this long, perpetual move forward. And also in that list, it kind of highlights a few very important moments. Obviously, this moment of Exodus, the moment where the sea parted, the moment where they had no water, and when Aaron dies. And so it's just this relentless march with pauses and important moments and moments of savoring, moments of being like, oh, the sea just parted. A miracle has just happened. And so just naming that as one place on this map. So I want to invite you for this sit, whether you've been in a march that has been painful and difficult, or you've been in a march that has felt important and strengthening, or both, that we can find together this moment of rest and moment of savoring. So, as I'm going to instruct us today, I'm going to actually instruct us, if you want to follow my guidance, in noticing and feeling and sinking into places of pleasantness, of pleasure. And if you find that difficult, at least places that are okay, that are stable, just to make sure that we balance the places of pain and struggle and hard work. Not that those are not important, but we want to have a nice balance in our life to be able to have these moments of pleasure and savoring, being small, hungry, and alive, as the poem says. So I want to invite you to come to a position that feels comfortable for you for the period of this meditation. If you're sitting, you can bring some relaxation into the shoulders. You're welcome to give your body a twist. Do anything that helps the body to feel at ease, to bring that into the body. You might soften your jaw, might let your shoulder blades slide down your back. You can close your eyes. You can always keep them softly focused in front of you. And particularly for this sit, I want to invite you to see what it feels like to bring a gentle smile to the lips. We're not faking anything here, especially if we're actually not feeling very good right now. But sometimes just a soft smile can kind of send an invisible message to the body that even if you might not be feeling very well, you're okay. You're safe. You can take this moment of refuge. It's okay to feel good. You're a person that has a lot of hard time with this. I want to invite you, you can put a hand on your chest or a hand on your belly or both to keep the attention inside the body, as best as you can to allow yourself to feel these pleasant sensations. We're not shutting down the unpleasant, but we're widening the attention so that the unpleasant can be coexisting with the pleasant. We can let our attention rest. Very likely your mind is going to be racing around to the future, to the past, to to-do lists, maybe over into fantasy, telling stories. That's just what the mind does. It's not a failure. You're not a bad meditator. Mind just does that. And so when you realize you're lost in the thick of a thought, whenever you realize it, is that moment to find some place in the body that feels nice, that feels okay. That might be the feeling of clothing against your skin. Maybe it's the softness of whatever it is that you're sitting on. The movement of the breath, gently moving you, breathing you in your chest or belly. And sometimes I just sit with the feeling of my lips touching each other as like a pleasant sensation. Just this, just here. Really trying to notice, what does pleasant feel like? You don't have to come up with a bunch of words, although you might. But the invitation is to actually feel it. What does pleasant or pleasurable feel like? Can I swim inside it? Can I be inside its textures, its temperature, its movement? You don't have to force anything or dig deep for something. We're looking for this pleasant, pleasurable sensation right here, right on the surface. And then teaching ourselves it's okay to enjoy it, to savor it, to relax any resistance against it. And again, if an unpleasant feeling is coming up for you or is really shouting at you, you don't have to ignore it or shove it away. You can notice it's there. You can try and soften around it. And when you feel a little more stable, you can just turn towards any place, any sensation that feels nice or okay. Returning back again and again. Noticing if any part of you has reclenched again, maybe your jaw or your shoulders, softening and opening. Always bring a hand back to the heart. What feels nice? And what does nice feel like? How close can you get to that feeling? Like you can use the words just here, just this sensation. Now let my attention rest here. Be curious here. Just here. taking a moment to notice if any part of you opened up a little to the pleasure that is on offer from God, from the universe, all the time. And that may we continue to have these moments of pause, of camping down for the night in these places of refuge, of rest, of pleasure, of joy. Of being alive. When you're ready at your own pace, you can open your eyes if they're closed. And you can begin to bring your attention back into our space together for Kaddish. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yael. Friends, let's seal that beautiful practice opportunity for those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, you're welcome to do so. And as always, we ask those of you who are not reciting Kaddish, please stay present to support those who are. And you can put the name or names of anyone you're honoring today in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish. Thanks to Harry for sharing the words on the screen. And if you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time.
Buchdahl,
Shama Dibra Eviamif Malchute Kayehon Kamehon Kayed Beit Yisrael Ba'agala B'zman Kari Imru Amen. Yehesh Me Rabban Barah Lam Vame Amaya Barach Bishtabach Ar Vidramam Vitnaseh Vitadar Vitale Vithalal Shemei B'Kudshah Rihu La'ela Min Kol Birchata B'Shirata Tush B'chata V'Nechamata Da'amiram Ba'alma Imru Amen. Yehesh Lama Rabba Mitamaya Ayim Aleinu V'El Israel Amen. Say Shalom B'Rama Israel.
Amen.
Amen.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today. And if you're leaving us now, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. I'll be leading our sit tomorrow to sit together into Shabbat, as we like to frame our Friday sessions. So I hope you can join us tomorrow at our usual time. And even more so, I hope you can stay with us. You can continue to just use Yael's beautiful guidance from today to sit. You can turn the sound off on your device or computer and just use the container of this time in this community to support you. Or you can join us for a conversation. And if you'd like to ask a question, you can put question in the chat, write question all in caps, and I will try to work your question into the conversation, but also feel free just to share reflections and your experience on today's set. And thanks to Harry Goboa for holding our space, and thanks Harry for sharing the link to Yael's website and Substack. Highly recommend subscribing to the Substack. Yael, thanks so much. It was a great compliment to yesterday's set, which was led by Daniel Raphael Silverstein, which focused on compassion. He pointed to the stopping points in the wilderness from the Parsha as these moments of refuge, but it was making me think about, just as we frame these daily sits as a little kind of infusion of Shabbat into our daily lives, and consider what are the elements of Shabbat as we're using it there. One is presence, the stopping to be more present. One is the compassion that Daniel talked about yesterday. And the other one that really is neglected, and really I'm so glad you brought it in, is this savoring. It's just a great word to begin with. It's a wonderful poem, great summer poem I think there are also probably a lot of other great poems about like peaches with the juices dripping down and all that. So it's a great imagery. And that is a central part of what Shabbat is supposed to be about. You know, there's the phrase Oneg Shabbat, Tanug Shabbat. It's the same root. It's about the pleasure, taking pleasure in Shabbat. So thank you for lifting that up. And then I also, so let's start there. Let's start there because I think that's often neglected.
Yeah.
Uh, it's often neglected. But that's part of Shabbat. That's part of Shabbat. Traditional Shabbat practice is like, you know, bringing out the fine china and eating the best food and delicacies and really enjoying life.
Yeah.
So I just want, and I also know that you've written a lot on the Substack and otherwise about desire, and I'm curious about the connection between those two and whether that relates to this emphasis on savoring here.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you brought this in because this is my favorite topic. I'm writing a book right now about desire through a mindfulness lens. And uh, in this poem itself, she says, like at the bottom, like, I'm so sorry, forgive us. And after this episode of like deep savoring of the tomatoes, she says, like, we were just being hungry and small and hungry and alive. And that hunger is the part of the desire. Like our desire is bringing us into these pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
We often think about desire as like a difficult, annoying thing because we don't have the object of our desire all the time, or we don't get it, or what if we don't get it? You know, it kind of produces a lot of angst and difficulty for us. But I think when you're inside of that kind of hunger or desire, and at the same time, and letting it be abundant, it's not in opposition to being grateful and enjoying. It's part of the project. So that's another reason why I'm obsessed with this poem, because it has the two there together. And totally agree. This is not fringe Judaism. Like this is pure Shabbat practice.
Right.
We are told all kinds of good things about desire on Shabbat. Like if you have sex on Shabbat, double mitzvah. It's like
also you're supposed to eat chocolate babka on Shabbat, and that also is delicious.
Yes. And so I think that we really don't often in our culture, and especially like when we're used to kind of white knuckling it and working hard, we don't have as much of those pausing, savoring points as I think we need.
Yeah. So, boy, there's a lot to talk about here. So, in mindfulness practice, whether Jewish or not, as I understand it, there's a lot of attention on noticing these two kind of complementary or polar draws: aversion, right, unpleasant, right, and noticing that, and then noticing pleasant and desire, and both those poles can lead into problematic territory.
Yes.
Like, right, aversion can lead to numbing and shutting down and burying our head in the sand. Desire can lead to craving, and it's interesting that in the Torah we've got passage where the Israelites are craving, right? Their desire falls into craving.
Yes.
So the question, and then you mentioned in the teaching, notice if you feel like you need permission, right? It's not okay to have that, to feel good or savor or feel that pleasure. So what is the guidance here in terms of mindfulness about how to not to like look for this theoretical state of non-attachment where there's no aversion and there's no desire and there's just being. That's not the ideal we're looking for, right?
Right.
And I think you're pointing that out.
Yeah, it's multi-layered because, sometimes it really does hurt when we are just chasing, never full, never feeling like the thing that we're after is is actually going to satisfy. So there
Mhm.
is some element of suffering that goes along with desire that it's important to pay attention to.
Mhm.
But I agree with you that I don't think our end goal is to kind of be these like non-feeling beings that just move through the world unaffected, not wanting anything, and also not feeling angry. You know, I think that
Mhm.
passion and energy is part of being alive. And so
Right.
it's just a matter of kind of like really learning to be in the feeling and less attached, I think, to the outcome or the object. But
Mhm.
feeling is,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm. Okay, so let's take a case study here. Okay.
yeah,
Um, Theoretically, during the sit, I start thinking about a grilled cheese sandwich I'd like to make for lunch today. And I
yes,
can imagine that, the gooey cheese and that buttered, right.
sounds
Uh,
amazing.
yes, yeah. So in terms of your guidance here, like how would you suggest working with that? Like I was thinking
Yes,
that, okay, like this is a good example. Like I could start just fantasizing about that, right? And if
yes,
I took it even further, I would say like, you know what? I'm done with this set. I'm going to go make my grilled cheese sandwich for now, right now. It's like, or I could say like, just the thought of the grilled cheese sandwich is pleasurable, right?
yes,
I can sit with, and it's as if I can taste it, and I can work with what does it feel like to enjoy that. And I
yeah,
can notice, oh, there's a voice in my head saying, that's not okay.
yeah,
That's bad,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's too much or whatever. Or it's not really about the grilled cheese, is it? It's really about pleasure in being alive right now.
yes,
And maybe I can notice the pleasure of the fan moving the air in the room, without which it would be too hot,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So
I love that example because when you're really
purely hypothetical.
when you're bringing to mind the grilled cheese and you're really in the grilled cheese image, it's actually sometimes it can be a little unpleasant. Like where, ooh,
I'm here. We're here.
can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Okay.
here.
For some reason it's frozen for me, but I'm glad you can still see me and hear me. Okay, great. So that is can like it can cause us, like you said, get up, go eat the grilled cheese, but it's not to actually get the flavors of the grilled cheese. It's to get rid of that desire. Like when
Hmm.
we're going towards the object, it's because it's like a little threatening, unpleasant to actually be in the wanting. And so we want to put a kibosh on it by
Hmm.
consummating and getting rid of it.
Hmm.
The actual feeling of that is, like you said, it's life. It's like enlivening. It's the body saying like it wants more. And that can feel like a wave, or it can feel like, you know,
Hmm.
kinds of stuff that is life. And so I think, and then you can go eat it and enjoy it. Like this
Right.
poem says, like, definitely take part in the pleasure of it. But the pleasure of it isn't just in the actual object, it's also in the body.
Hmm. That's beautiful. I'd like Shima just put in the chat. And I'm thinking about, a neo-Hasidic take on this, which is to say that when we notice things like that pleasure or the hunger, um, we might be able to trace it back to its root, right? I think that's what Steve is suggesting here. We can be aware or mindful of the source of our life as our shepherd. Then we won't experience any sense of lack. That at their root, these desires and pleasures have a spiritual source that we can trace it back to. Are
Yes,
you comfortable with that? Yeah.
very comfortable with that. I
Yeah.
don't think we need a like divide up the good ones from the bad ones, because as you're saying, they're all at the root of it, is all kind of in this kind of Hasidic language, is like about unification with God.
Mhm. Right.
So it's kind of relaxing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what you're offering today in terms of the savoring, the pleasure, the desire, kind of transforms these stopping points in the wilderness to oases, right? Not just refuge, not just like shelters from the storm, but actually great rest stops, where
Yeah.
there's excellent food, and and it's really nice to hang out for a while, right?
Yeah.
And that's very different. Tomorrow I'm actually going to ground the set in the cities of refuge, and about like, what it means to flee to the city of refuge. But this adds an important dimension that the refuge is itself is not just the absence of threat. There's a positive sense there. So one more, maybe just kind of let's close a little bit with maybe you can say a little bit more for those of us for whom or who are suspicious or on guard
Yeah.
or feel unworthy, right? Of it. What is that? What does that say? How do we work with that?
I'm really glad that we're coming back to this. And this, I think, is related to Lori's question. There's research studies that show that people at the end of their life, they tend to regret a very small number of things. And one of the main things they regret is, I didn't allow myself to be happy. And even the language of it is so interesting to me. Not, I didn't pursue happiness, but like happiness, pleasure, joy was here. And I didn't allow myself to partake of it, to be in it. And the question is, why? Why not? And the answer, I think you named some of it, like, are we worthy of this? But what about if someone else is suffering? What about if I'm enjoying it and then someone takes it away? It's a very Jewish, like, legacy of trauma, feeling like, no, I must protect against the moment when I don't have it. So I better not feel it at all. And so these are all natural, understandable ways of being, but we don't want to end up there where we're at the end of our life and we didn't taste the tomatoes because we were so scared, of there not being tomato tomorrow. And especially about like worthiness and like somehow to deprive ourselves is good for somebody else. Like, it doesn't make logical sense, but we feel it. And so just to kind of really keep interrogating those in a loving way and say, no, I deserve this pleasure because I'm alive and I'm just like every other human being.
Beautiful. All right. Well, sadly, we need to end there. Just to make a general suggestion going to bring this into the rest of the day, whether it's tomatoes or grilled cheese or babka or whatever came up. A lot of people are saying they're quite hungry now. So, but to look for the small pleasures, right? The small things to savor, that they don't have to be large. That's a way of infusing the rest of the day with some of this practice. So, yeah, Yael, thank you. This was a real gift. We'll look forward to the next book. What's it called, by the way? You have a title yet?
Clear, untitled. Maybe you all can help
All right.
me.
All right. Well, check out Yael's Substack. I'm sure there'll be information there, and also probably some previews and her website. Always a pleasure, Yael. Thank you so much. Thanks, Harry, for holding us together here, and hope to see everybody tomorrow. Sit to Shabbat together. Take good care, everybody. Many blessings.